So what else did Reagan do? This is incredible. In the early 1980s, they had he rebooted Social Security. It was one of the things that you could argue he did well, although I would say he did it wrong, because he doubled the taxes on working people, literally doubled the Social Security tax on working people, and put a cap on it that was inflation adjusted, but the cap at that time was around $40,000 a year of maximum amount of income. And after that, you didn't have to pay Social Security tax. So the upper middle class and very wealthy people pay, virtually nothing. I mean, very extremely wealthy people, not even a fragment of a percent of their income into Social Security, whereas all of the income of working people now up to $113,000 or $118,000 a year is taxed for Social Security at a rate that was twice what it was before Reagan came into office. So he doubled the tax on working people and cut, of course, by almost two-thirds the income tax on really rich people. But, see, that still didn't solve Social Security's problem, and so he went to the Social Security administrators and said, come up with a way to cut the costs to Social Security. Well, Social Security at that time, Social Security, well, not just at that time, even today, not only provides a buffer for people in retirement, people over 65, it's poverty insurance, basically. But that's two-thirds of what Social Security does. A third of what Social Security does is it provides for widows, orphans, and disabled people. I mean, quite literally, widows, orphans, and disabled people. When Paul Ryan's dad died, his mom was able to get Social Security. Although they were very rich and they didn't need it, he likes to brag about the fact that they got it, as if they lived off it, in any case. So they were like, okay, we doubled the tax on working people, but that wasn't quite enough to fix Social Security, so what do we do? So Reagan directed the Social Security Administration people to look at ways they could cut Social Security disability. And they said, well, nobody seems to care about mental health. Why don't we cut that? And so they came up with a whole new definition of mental health, and they took the money for mental health and turned it into block grants for the states. And the result of that was that all across the country, mental health facilities that were housing people who were not able to function on their own closed their doors, and those people showed up on our streets, and many of them today go by, we know them as homeless people. Now, there's a second population of homeless people that we've had since Reaganomics, and that's what used to be middle-class people who just can't get a job and they've lost their homes. But back in the 80s, we still had an FDR economy. The economy was still pretty solid. We were living in the era of the New Deal, which was from 1933 to 1981. And in that era of the New Deal, we pretty much didn't have homelessness. But, so Reagan brought us that. So from devastating our economy to gutting social welfare programs, sending millions of people, thousands of Americans onto the streets, to devastating our image all around the world. I mean, we attacked Nicaragua after, Reagan did after Congress passed a law saying that he couldn't. He was selling weapons to Iran after, it seemed like we thought Iran was not our friend. The damage this guy has done to our country is incredible. Bob in Fontana, California, you don't understand?
I'm just, like I said, just grabbed your program a couple of days ago, and I've been listening. I listen to both sides and try to draw my own conclusion, And
right.
I just try to figure out, I hear you always complaining about Reagan. Hey, that's all fine and dandy. I like to hear what you got to say. But a question I have to ask is, if it was so bad, why has all the presidents past, after him hasn't done anything, including this president?
Well, Clinton tried to roll back Reaganomics slightly, but what Reagan did was basically he handed the keys to the government, to the kingdom, over to the fat cats, the banksters, the transnational corporations. And so, Clinton ran, if you go back and read his New Covenant speech from 1992, he ran on a platform of restoring FDR's New Deal. And there have been numerous stories about this, including in major media like the New York Times. About a week before he took office, Alan Greenspan and Jamie Rubin sat him down and said, well, young man, you think you're going to do that, but that's not how the world works anymore. The political parties are now controlled by big money, and you're going to dance to the tune of big money. And so he raised taxes 3 points. He took the top tax rate up by 3 percentage points. But that wasn't even close. I mean, Reagan had dropped it from 74% down to 28%. Clinton took it from 36 up to 39%. It was nothing. So I would say that Clinton didn't do it because, frankly, I don't think that he had the power or the courage to do it. And Obama hasn't done it, I think, in part because he doesn't have the power or the courage to do it, and in larger part because everything Obama has tried to do has been opposed by a relatively small but very powerful cabal of Republicans who met the night that Obama was inaugurated at the Caucus Room restaurant here in Washington, D.C. It's well documented. Afterwards, one of them said, "We are going to follow the Taliban. We're going to do an insurgency. We're going to make sure that the Obama presidency is a complete and utter failure. We will not allow him to have any successes." And other than an 11-week window before Scott Brown got sworn in, an 11-week window in the history of the United States Senate where Obama had a veto or a filibuster-proof majority, other than that, the Republicans have filibustered everything he's tried. I mean, Nancy Pelosi passed over 300 pieces of good legislation out of the House, including one that would have stopped the practice of outsourcing our jobs. It would have stopped tax breaks for companies like, Mitt Romney's company that shut down that factory, Sensata in Ohio or Illinois, wherever it was, and shipped it brick by brick over to China. They got a tax break for doing that. They got paid by our government for doing that. And Pelosi reversed that and said, in fact, we're going to give a tax break to those companies that have moved overseas that bring their factories back to the United States. And what happened? It went to the Senate, and Republicans filibustered it. It was the best thing for America. It was the best thing for working people. It was the major reversal of Reaganomics. Republicans blocked it.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
So I stand behind what I said. I stand on this ground. If we want America to come to once again be a functioning country, we need to roll back Reaganomics.